podcast.
I
What's
know,
going
eh?
on? What's going on here? This is friggin' season 8, episode 39, 346 Decoded Podcast. This is the third episode this summer. It's just wild. It's wild, but it stays true in a way to the things we've said as we've started this, when we started this podcast. It's got to work for us. We got to do this. We got to do that. I went away. You went away. I went away. You came back. I went away. Like, it was just, and when I was away last week, I did tell you in one of my messages to you, hey, let me see if I can make this work in the mornings. Maybe I can podcast from my trip. And I never got back to you. It could have worked, but it would have been shoddy. Like, you would have seen, I would have been sitting in this room. I had no headset. Like, I was like, I don't know. I didn't follow through because it didn't light me up, I guess. But here we are. We're back. Only the third episode this summer. Summer school. Summer school's been weak. The kids love it. It's been weak.
I like how you started. Are you still a podcaster if you're not podcasting? Do you still get to say that? I guess you do. I think with our pedigree, with what we've already put up, I think the better question would be, are you still a podcaster if you're not using the typical tools of podcasting? Because I can only imagine, actually, I can't even, thinking back to, I did that session at the Google Summit in Cambridge about podcasting. And I came across some of that stuff. Will Gorley was there. He was, pumping his fist in the air. I think Jonathan So was there. A few other names that Jen Giffen, I think, was at it.
Mm-hmm.
These names, these blasts from the past, individuals that I think, actually, I don't know, Shooks and Giff. I don't know if they're still doing their podcast, but at the time I was not talking about podcasting the way that I'm actually doing podcasting right now. So I like that as an evolution. So I don't know. I think it's cheeky to say, are you even a podcaster if you're not actually putting out content? I would just say, are we actually podcasters, or is this something else? We've pivoted so many times with sorry, let me reframe that. We've pivoted so drastically that I think we're probably closer to just OG content creators, like at the level that we're at. Like that's I think content creators with a focus on that's probably, hanging on to the moniker of podcaster. I don't know. Is that important to you? Do you know what I mean? Like I've never asked you that question directly. We've messed with it. We've expanded it. We've sort of like pushed it to its outer limits, so to speak. But is that piece, that shingle that you're putting up, is it important for you to still call yourself a podcaster? It's funny, does your family still ask you, like, do you have a podcast? My family still asks that. They actually, Karen, just before bed last night, said, so are you podcasting tomorrow morning? I'm like, yep. And then we sit here and we're like, are we podcast? Is this a podcast anymore?
In my fam, so you lit me up there. You said lots of good things that resonate that I want to speak to, and I don't know if I will, because I don't know if I can hold on to any of it, and I don't take notes anymore. I used to in this podcast. I don't anymore. So let me start with, because we do it Saturday mornings, or generally in a morning, nobody knows it's happening. My kids are sleeping. My wife's asleep. Everybody's asleep except me and the bunny. So he knows I'm engaged with this because I'm not over there petting him and keeping him all comfy and cozy. In my house, podcast is almost like they don't know. I don't think they don't care. It doesn't exist because it happens when they're all unconscious. Number one, they make fun of me when we do the book club for men because I'll say, "Hey guys, remind me I have book club tonight." And they're like, "Oh, Dad's got book club," and they'll joke and have fun with that. So that's cool that they do that. That exists in their world because they see it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, shoot, I lost.
Is podcast the
Oh,
title important, Jamer?
only as we talk about this now, only when I'm feeling immature and my ego takes over in a conversation where someone's talking to me about the podcast they just started a week ago and they look forward to turning it into the Joe Rogan experience. Then I'm like,
Mm.
what the F did you just say? Then it's like, oh, okay, it's time for Roland to be a bit of a jerk and lean on. I- I've been podcasting for 8 years. Like that's not even including other things. It's just us decoded. You're really going to take it to the Joe Rogan level, aren't you? Yeah. What are you going to talk about? Oh, shoelaces and whatever. Like then I become a dick, and then it's like then there's something there that makes me want to. I'm a podcaster, but at the end of the day, so at the end of the day, I think the reason why we still do this is because we're the Seinfeld podcast. We're not. There is no point to our. There is a point to our podcast, but it's about nothing. It's not about shoelaces on Nike shoes. You do 50 episodes, you're like, yeah, we're out, we're bored, or we got nothing to talk about, or oh, what's the next newest thing we're jumping into? So I'm trying not to diss our fellow podcasters, but I think I am by basically saying they had shticks, they had a thing that they were chasing, and it's gone for whatever reason. There could be a lack of interest, it could be new opportunities, it could just be natural growth. Some might say you and I are stunted because we're still doing this and it's season 8, episode 39, 346. We're stunted. We got nothing else. We do have other things and we've talked about those things, but so that's when I want to flex. Like when somebody, it's hilarious. And I'm just thinking of a particular individual because I was just chatting with him this morning from the hockey world. I know him from the hockey world. And I think when I told him I did a podcast, I don't know how it came up. He was like, "You have a podcast?" And the first thing he thought, the first place his mind went to was the Joe Rogan type.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so like, how many followers do you? I'm like, we have subscribers because it's on YouTube, and we have people like Gary and Rochelle that join us in our most recent iteration. They've been joining us a lot. Other than that,
And ghost followers that we only find out that they're listening when we meet up with them face to face. Like Carlos, right?
Carlos,
Like he always throws positive action our way whenever we manage to meet up for a bite to eat. He's still. I think of the evergreen nature of this. Like I imagine you and me here on the computers, and in the background on one of the windows you see like the sun coming over, and then the sun quality changing, and then snow, and then rain, and then snow falls again, and then snow, and then rain. There's almost an elemental like creeping up on a decade now doing this, that the gravity of it is like, well, what's the point in stopping? This is just like a really fascinating process. I added this, so it's kind of funny. Well, not funny. So I added this app onto my phone. What's it called? Perfect Progress. Perfect Progress. And I'm not paying for it. Let's see if you can actually see. So it's on the top right. I
mm-hmm.
have my how much time I have before I'm gonna die. I
Mm.
got 46 years, 2 months left. Because remember, I said I want to live to 100.
Yes.
Today, today so far, so in the gray one is 35% done. This week ends in 1 day and 16 hours. This month, you can see 15 days and this year, whatever it is, 62, 63% done. And it's kind of fascinating to put that on there, because if I put 46, if I look at 46 years, imagine sitting here. I'm like 95 years old and we're still doing the podcast. So let's say 90. But like, so I turn what, 54 this year? So if that means another, so we're putting up, my mind can't even do the math. But basically, we're 8 years in, 8 years in. So what, another 30 years, 38 years in podcast. Like Rogan won't, I don't think we'll be doing it for that long. I can't imagine. Or whatever this is. It becomes kind of funny, just that kind of that the energy that I draw off that, I really enjoy. I enjoy this sort of like um sort of like just the sort of the honesty, the clarity, the sort of like the energy that comes with just thinking like this conversation can just keep going. And for someone to kind of say, "Oh, you're like Joe Rogan," I'll put it in the category of like, you don't get it. And I'm not going to work too hard to make you get it, but I'm going to give you how we do it. It's kind of like in that category of conversation when I would tell people I was a chef. And I think what they would do, they would tap into whatever the brand that is most visibly repping the product.
Hmm.
So now Joe Rogan has a very specific kind of podcast, right? And for better for worse, like he is a bit of a polymath. Like there's different things that he's interested in. He does rock a kind of mindset that I don't always agree with. I jump in and out of his philosophy. I take what I need and I sort of try and be my best version of whoever I am. So he has conversations in there. I'm like, man, you're an asshole. And then it's kind of like Jordan Peterson. And I'm like, yeah, you're a dick, man. Like how can you put that kind of shit up? And then other times I'm like, that's kind of fascinating. Kind of comes back to the like living a philosophical life. This is the work, right? You're drawing in different influences and just you only have your own compass to kind of navigate. Anyways, they used to always people would say stuff like, "Are you like Gordon Ramsay in your?" Because he has the eyeballs of the viewers on him. Like he's managed to sort of capture the curiosity. He's managed to capture the sort of like the fascination, even if it's like car crash fascination. He's captured it, and I'm like, no, I never was like that. I never was like that. And then right away you feel like the whole, oh, oh, okay. Like they're not interested in talking about it anymore. Like they want some of those stories. And I think even you and I think you asked a question like that in the beginning, but I think you asked questions more like because you really were when we have talked about me being a chef back in the day, there was a certain like you sort of considered some of the people that worked in kitchens like that as like they're kind of like aliens, like people that would actually do that kind of work at that level under that stress. I can remember, and I wrote a couple poetic pieces back in the day where I kind of made them akin to like rogues and pirates. Like there is an element on the inside, like it's whacked when I think of some of the things that I witnessed in kitchens, and just there was a thin veil of of propriety, like properness that you had to walk through, and all of a sudden the customer's there, and that sort of like whether it was the door from the back kitchen to the front kitchen, but you come forth and there's shit happening back there that someone eating their roasted chicken just should never know, should never ever know. So yeah, I can remember those conversations about what a podcast is, and I make it compared to like what people thought it meant to be a chef. And as soon as you kind of break out of that, yeah, no, we're not doing Joe Rogan. It's nothing like Joe Rogan. I'm imagining someone somewhere, at least in their little animal brain, they're like, oh, well, that's boring. It's like, what's the point? If you're not putting up content like that, dude, what's the point? What's the point?
Can I make a comparison to your chef thing? And there is a fascination for me there. So there's like the surface level fascination, and there's depth to it. So let me try to
Mhm.
let me try to like break this up, break this down a little bit, decode it a little bit for me and for everybody else. Yeah, so when I think of kitchens and when I think of restaurants, right? You've got you've got different people in those environments. You've got the people in the back who are not allowed to come out front. And I don't mean that like, Jimmy, don't you ever cross that space going out. And maybe is there, Chris? Have you or other managers or people running a restaurant said to like the rogues, do not leave the kitchen. We don't want you. We don't want people seeing you. And they're not maybe that. But Jimmy's got the tattoos. Just got out of jail. Man, I'm wrecking everybody today. And they're like, you wash dishes here. That's what we pay you to do. We don't need you out in front where it's polished and the waiters and the waitresses are, doing everything they can to satisfy the customer's needs. We don't want them to see you. You just stay back here with your swearing and your smoking and keep doing the dishes. Does that happen?
So I will let so I want to speak to that, but I'll speak to it after you sort of get all
Okay.
your bits out. So
Your bits
I don't want to derail your thinking there. One thing I will say is that in order for I think I'll say like okay, I can say this about education. I can say this about the kid. I think people you have to be skilled. You have to be very skilled in your lane, whatever it is. So whatever your role is, whatever your assigned task is, you have to have high skill, high responsibility, high discipline, accountability. So what that would mean if you're a dishwasher, you gotta be the best friggin' dishwasher you can. If you're the salad prep, if you're the grill chef, whatever you are, you to come out of your lane sometimes can mean that you have to operate in some different ways. So if you are the dishwasher buried in the back, and every time you put a load of dishes in, you have to drop an F bomb, which I'm not recommending you do. But if that's a little bit of your personality, and it doesn't feed a positive workplace. But let's just say, as you kind of identified, you're kind of rough around the edges. If you are now moving out of your lane, you have to be prepared for the rule changes. And there's some rules in changing lanes that have to be respected. So just specifically, you said, smoking in the back. Well, that's an easy one. There's no more. There's there. I mean, when I started working in restaurants, there was people were smoking back in the staff room, whatever it was, right? Like there was all those things kind of changed in the time that I was there. Smoking sections disappeared. Do staff still go out and smoke? Of course they do. Smoke, vape. There's still a spot that they'll go and hide and they'll be out back the restaurant, whatever, by the garbage bin. But when you leave your lane, there's transitional rules you have to follow. And then when you're out of your lane, you actually, even though it can be an extension of your job, so dishwasher's good, a good example that there are some places where the dishwasher not only cleans off the dishes, rinses off the dishes, puts the dishes through, then stacks dishes. There can be a jumping out of your lane moment where they now are bringing the dishes up into the dining room. The rules for the dining room are there's same, but there's extra rules for you if you're coming out of the back kitchen to bring dishes into the dining room. There's an understanding that if you are working in a kitchen and you walk past someone that has uh like sauce on the front of their chef's outfit, you can walk past that with the understanding that, okay, well, this is what happens in the kitchen. This is what happens when you're actually working hard and you're working the fryer station or you're doing the pasta station. You're going to get splashed. In the same way, if you walk past a construction site, you don't think to yourself, oh, look at that dude. Look at that dudette. Their boots are really dusty. Like you don't walk the sidewalk in your Tevas and t-shirt and say, "Oh, look how dirty that truck is." By function, you accept that that is how it works. You understand that's how the that a construction site works. I would say that if that construction worker were to step outside of the fence line and start walking up and down the sidewalk and shaking people's hands and saying, "Hey, would you like to come and take a tour of this condo?" People would probably be thinking to themselves, okay, and this is a good example of this is like the someone stepping out of their lane. Fine, you can be a construction worker and come out and try and sell the condos, but there's an accepted sort of like lane that you have to be in. You have to have a clean pair of pants. You would have to have a collared shirt. You would probably not want to have, still concrete and axle grease underneath your fingernails. So the stepping out of your lane comes with new rules. Not every restaurant does a good job of helping their staff to understand that those lanes exist. And not every place does a good job, even to this day, of encouraging their staff to think of themselves in a more diverse fashion. I'll close on this one last thing. One of the things that I was always, and I'm proud of this. There's a handful of things that I'm really proud of that my understanding of doing hospitality well. I would say to my staff, very like just in no fancy words, you are in a relationship with the clients that walk in this door. Even if you think to yourself you're buried in the back and you never see the customer, because that's the end game, right? That there's two there's the customer, and then there's kind of like what the customer experiences, and there's what the staff experiences, and that's a relationship. How you make sure, and ultimately, because it's you're accountable to the customer in a way that the customer will never be accountable to you in that sort of restaurant kind of thing. We're there to create an experience for these clients coming in. They are paying their money to be there. The restaurant is paying you money to sort of provide it. So that's that kind of synergy. But I would always say to my staff, if they ever got to the why bother, what's the point? And I would say to them, because you're in a relationship with table 12, pivot one. So person one, place one, the person sitting at number one at the table. And I think I've talked to you about this. We had them numbered off. I've always experienced this numbered off. So what that would mean if you are in, it's called pivot in the last restaurant that I was in, but it's basically person 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We had a way to sort of like number off the table so that servers coming up to the table never ever had to say, "Hey, who's got the cheeseburger?" We knew who had the cheeseburger. We would put your meal right down in front of you, and all you had to do was like, "Yes, I'm ready to eat my cheeseburger." So I would say to my staff, "Yeah, I get it. You're scrubbing pots, but you have a relationship with pivot number one at table 5." They're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Things that you do matter. Your mindset matters. The energy that you put into the work that you're doing, the focus matters. It's the butterfly effect, right? That how you actually stack the plates does somehow create a relational sort of effect out front. It's all kind of connected. So when you step out of your lane, I used to love talking to my staff about this, is that you are deepening your relationship to the customer by stepping out of your lane. Because often what that meant was, um, and I can speak from the kitchen perspective, servers, it's a different conversation, some similar parts. But I would say to even my dishwashers, my prep person, I've told you about Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day. His real name was Thava, right? We had different people from different sort of like parts of the world all coming in. Thavaraja, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Teddy, all these guys that I worked with back in the day, even though they were the morning prep crew and didn't have they were asynchronous to when the customers walked in, because that crew was just finishing up around noon, 1 o'clock. That's rated our mid lunch service, right? So even them, I would be saying you still have a relationship with those customers. It's just a little bit time delayed. The customer is still experiencing your joy, your responsibility, your accountability in the food and how they have later. So I always wanted to expand everyone's understanding of how interconnected the experience actually is in the restaurant. But when you do step out of your lane, sometimes there's different gear you need to use, there's different tools you need to use, there's different comportment, as in just sort of mindsets that you have to use. But it's code switching, but restaurant style. And it's expected. It really is expected. Some restaurants, still to this day, they do not do a good job of reminding the staff that they are in constant relationship with the clients, and that the clients don't, even though the clients aren't telling you directly what that relationship looks like all the time, it's really important, I think, for a brand or a restaurant to be able to establish what that respectful relationship looks like with everything that they do from the moment that the client, for some, from the moment that relationship starts. Well, yeah, I can say this. You know this. How many times have we tried to do a foodapalooza and we're trying to do searches on our phone and we're like, shit, man, it is impossible to find out information about this place. That's the beginning of the relationship, right? Somebody's in charge of that lane and they're not doing a good job. And then you try to look at the menu and you're like, what the hell? Like, who put these posts up, these pictures up? Right. So sometimes that relationship now, like it used to be the doorway of the restaurant. Then it became kind of like your websites. Then it became social media. So the lane widths have expanded. And like it's so much broader now, that relationship. But still, the one-to-one stuff with the clients is really important. That went on way too long, bro, because I actually do have a story to connect with this, but I won't for now. I just, when you talk about, someone coming out of the back kitchen, absolutely, absolutely. And I'll flip that. My dad loved going to the open kitchen, loved being able to come in the back door. And I loved having him do that because I knew that in some ways, even though the back kitchen was still operating as a back kitchen, I wasn't looking to change the nature of the beast. But I also knew that there were individuals back there that in their lane would make sure it didn't look like shit. It wasn't dirty. People were working clean. It looked organized so that you could have people within, you sort of see these factory tours and they say, just stay between the yellow lines. You'll be safe as long as. And so that was true. That was a truth that someone that was untrained, that narrow line that they had to follow to walk through the kitchen was the narrow line of difference of training between someone that has no clue about the lanes and people that did know about the lanes. And I think we have that in all businesses. We have that even in school, right? As long as you stay on this path, you will understand exactly what's going on. You step off that path, you're going to get knocked over by a hot sauce. You're going to get eaten by a velociraptor. Like it's there, you stay in that lane, it's the safe lane. So that relationship, that's a perfect example of it. And it wasn't just my dad. There were other friends. If someone visited me in the city, I would say, come on, I'll show you the back kitchen. And I never had to worry. I never had to worry that that couldn't be done because I knew that people were taking care of their shit in the back. So I didn't have to like, oh, hey, clean everything up. I'm bringing someone through. I could just walk someone through and not worry afterwards that that person wouldn't come and eat. And while I was there, the health inspector for TO at the time would come and dine at our restaurant on their off days. So I always took that as a really clear indicator that we were doing the right stuff. We were repping the lanes well. That was freaking long, man.
No, it's good though because it kind of informs me as I reflect and connect to your story. So there are people like you who can be hired at a restaurant, and the restaurant is this big ecosystem, right? And like you said, we belong to different parts of that ecosystem. We find our little spaces and our niches within that ecosystem, and we need to work together for the end product to be decent and for if everybody's in their lane and everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're following the rules of their lane because it's, as you said, it's okay to step out of your lane as long as you make sure that 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 you're following the rules of the new space you're in so that the ecosystem can continue to operate properly. That's important, right? Because if I'm at a posh restaurant in Waterloo and I'm there because I know the food's going to be good. I know the service is excellent. All the things I see are fantastic. So if Jimmy with his 8,000 tattoos walks out of the back of the house, comes in the front of the house to do whatever, and he's got a friggin' dart in his mouth and he's swearing as he's walking through with whatever, I'm going to be like, oh my God, what is happening here? This isn't the experience that I'm here for. I'm not paying for that experience. But, if he comes out, he's clean, he's, his his attire is proper for the space that he's now in. Like it fits. It's like, oh, so that dude, then he looks like a hipster. He doesn't look like he just got out of prison, right? So even with your tattoos and with your way of operating, you view those people in a certain way. So he's out of
Yeah.
his lane, but I'm like, oh, he's a hipster guy from the back. He's probably designing the desserts. You know, he's an eclectic type individual. I'm not thinking he just got out of jail and this is his first job out of jail, right? Because even and I don't even know what his story is, but I like that. You can step out of your lane and you step into another lane, and if you operate within the rules and it fits with the entire ecosystem, you're good theoretically. So my connection, I worked night crew in different grocery stores. I have no idea. I For the life of me, bro, I could not get what I called a real job in university. I All my friends had these great day jobs, working 9 to 5 and going out at night to the clubs and partying. And I'm not a club guy, but I think you get my drift.
Hmm.
I'm like, I couldn't get any of those jobs, but I could easily get a job at the grocery store down the street doing night crew. Night crew is akin to the rogues of a kitchen. Oh my God, I don't even know how many grocery stores I worked night crew, but at least three. Okay. Um, Generally non-desirable folk. They don't function well in the day with people. They'll tell you, I hate people. They'll like, I hate you, but I got to work with you for 8 hours, so I'll deal with it. But I don't want to deal with people. I don't want to deal with anybody's BS. Just tell me where to go and what to do and let me do it. Those are the normal guys on night crew. The abnormal guys are they're whacked. Like, you know how many people I met as a psychology and law major in university? I would look at them like, there's this person's broken. I got to figure out what is the break, what caused it. Because I would chat with these people at 4 in the morning when we were eating lunch. That was our lunchtime. You know what I mean? I'd be like, what's your deal? Where'd you come from? All this to say, there were lots of undesirable people working the night shift, and many people I'd meet one day and they were gone the next month. I never saw them again. Either they walked away or they were fired. A couple of times at the one grocery store I worked at, I had some of the guys that were our age now. Back then, they'd say to me, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "You don't belong here." Well, what does that mean? Am I not doing a good job? No, they're like, "You're fine. You're doing a great job in aisle 8, whatever." So what's the problem? They're like, "You're here, but you go to university in the day. You do other things. What are you doing here? Like, you don't belong here. You're not a lifer. You don't want to be a lifer. We know you've lasted this long, so we're not firing you, and you're not walking away." And I'm like, well, I can't, for the life of me, I can't get a job anywhere else. And they were baffled. They're like, what's the problem? Like, they would use I'm not going to use the same language they would use, but are you this? Are you that? I'm like, not that I know of, you know? I don't think I'm just like, look, I need to get paid. Like, I have a car, I pay for the car and I pay for the gas and I go to school in the day. The This isn't, I don't mean to say this about me, but there are people, you drop them into situations and they do what they need to do, and they know that that isn't the end game. And so they find other lanes to squeak into or whatever as they make their way through this thing we call life. Um, and that's like, you were in a kitchen, you still are a chef, you were working as a chef, but you were never meant to just be in the back with the tattoos. And well, obviously not, because here you are today, right? Like,
Well, I think that's what I like about that statement is that it kind of,
it's part of your journey, but it's
yeah,
not the end game.
yeah. So it brings to mind this dude, Robert, who I basically snaked his job from because he wasn't good at it. Kind of a little bit like the conversation moment that you're in, where someone noticed that I was different. Someone in power noticed that I operated a little bit differently in the kitchen, and I could stay in my lane, but I was one that clearly understood that there was different lanes to be in, and I was flexible. So I didn't just have this mindset that I was going to be like, I understand. I think fundamentally the way that I gave me success in the kitchen is it's not that I wasn't meant to be anywhere, is that I absolutely was meant to be there, but I understood that there were access points between lanes. And I understood that just because I noticed that there was an access point, I wasn't entitled to leave my lane, but I kind of accepted that if I worked hard, worked hard, worked well, build good relationships, was respectful, responsible, accountable, show up on time, do my best, do my best all the time, like give 100% all the time. That's just kind of built into my DNA in general. And my capacity to notice meant that when jobs, I sort of noticed someone not doing well in a job, my brain kind of like, okay, doot, doot, meta tag that, because there's an off ramp into another lane. I'm going to be able to change lanes at some point. I'm going to be able to move into that lane. There's going to be an opening in that lane. I'm going to move into it. So I think that there's, if I make it a little bit about my process, is that I was and I am someone that looks for the opening, but I'm patient enough to make sure that I have the skills in order to change lanes. I'm not going to do it haphazardly. So there was a certain amount of risk taking, but we've talked about this, that when I think I think success is that where training and opportunity meet, right? Like you're ready for opportunity because you've spent the time training, and you've spent the time being able to notice, paying attention. So that's what I did. And moving from dishwasher to prep cook didn't in there, just because you do that in one place doesn't necessarily mean that if you change to a different restaurant, that exact set same of lanes will be presented to you. I would make that akin to, just recently when I was driving in BC, even though there were a lot of similarities to it, there were also some nuances to driving in BC that felt different than driving here in Ontario. The behaviors, where you can turn right, where you can't turn right, the configuration of the road. Yes, fundamentally, it's a road, it's a car. We're still on the same side of the road. It still has kilometers, but there was something about the actual culture of driving that was a little bit different. So restaurants are the same way. There were places that I started off at where I left as a cook and I arrived at the new restaurant as a dishwasher. But I saw that that was a necessary lane change. That in order for me to sort of access that opportunity at the new restaurant, I would have to accept, a different role. And in that case, maybe lesser money, maybe a little bit the hours weren't as secure or as robust, but that sort of came along with it. So I kind of, the meant to be, I guess part of me, what makes me lean into that and push back on that statement is the fact that there was no happenstance. There was very much me paying attention to the lanes, the speed of the traffic. Can I change now? No, I can't change now. Do I have the skill to change? And so whether, because meant to be kind of makes it seem like there was like some sort of universal energy at work here, where I would argue agency. I was making decisions the whole time, and in doing so, I had to suck up if it was a bad choice, and I made bad choices. I didn't. It wasn't always, uh, despite where I am right now, or maybe along because of where in order for me to be where I'm at right now, I made mistakes along the way, but then still looked at it as a lane change. Okay, and that allowed me to kind of say, um, that I knew I had the skills to sort of course correct, because I was in those same spaces too, where people are like, "What the hell are you doing here?" One restaurant I worked at, they called me Ivy, short for Ivy League, because I was doing dishes and then became a line cook there, and there was just something, whatever about me, that that I didn't carry the same energy as some of the other lifers that were there. They had the sense like, this guy can do a really great job, but we suspect that he won't be here long. Like he's going to sort of like watch for another opportunity. And they were correct in that. But I didn't leave because I was displeased with where I was at. I had very few places like that. I built places. I built an environment around me in the places where I worked, where I was happy working there. And I've told you my philosophy of change. Don't do it when things are shit. Do your best to make change when things are good. And not everyone's going to understand that because they'll say, why don't you just stay? You've got a great this, you've got a great that. I don't get it. But even then, the places that kind of started off shitty, which weren't a good choice, ended up being dissatisfying. Seemed like a good choice at the time, but it was dissatisfying. Even those, I still did the work to make the place better for me, for others, whatever. So that when I left, people weren't saying, yeah, he just jumped ship. That was always important to me as well.
So I agree with, I don't, my comments were not meant to take away from the fact that you had agency. But I do believe, as you know, in the universal aspect of things. You were where you were supposed to be at the time, whether you were making decisions or not. I certainly did not want to be working night crew, but I know I needed to make money. And they took me on. And the whole time, at 3, 4 in the morning, I'm like, this friggin' sucks. This sucks. I'd rather be asleep. I'd rather be studying for an exam, right? Like, but the whole time there was thinking and movement. Like you, there was, I got to make a choice. I got to make a jump. I, this is where I am now. This is where I'm making money. I got to keep this rolling. For me, and I'll end with this, and then I want to jump into something else. Um, I did have another job. One of the years that I worked night crew, and I was working at the university. And the thing was, it was one of these things where I did have a good day job, but I didn't want to let go of the night job because the night job, there were rules, and I was starting to flex those rules. Like if you didn't take a shift, one shift in 30 days, and they could fire you. So I was like, well, that means I have to work one shift in 30 days at least to make this work. So I had this great day job gig at the university, working at the with the student life center, doing presentations for parents during the day. Um, and I'll never forget, I was working one of the night shifts. They hadn't seen me in a while because again, I've got a day job, right? And and this was one of the few times I had a good day job. But I'm working, and at around 4:30 or 5, the newspapers get delivered to the store. And I'm in my aisle doing whatever, and someone's like, "Hey, they want you up front now." I'm like, "Okay." So I go up front, and it was like a break time or something. They're like, "What the F is this?" And they take the newspaper and they toss it at me. I was in the newspaper for the job I was doing at the university. The one of the news outlets decided to do a story on how university getting kids ready, getting parents ready. So they interviewed the team that I was on, and there I was on the paper, and they're like, "What the F is this?" And then the couple of normal guys, they're nodding their head. They're like, "We know he's not gonna, like, we know that this isn't his path. He's not a lifer here. He's just doing this because this is where he is right now." And they would say to me, not in front of everybody else, but they're like, "Good for you. Get your degree. Go do what you need to do. This isn't the place for you." And this was in, my God, this was in the mid to late 90s. This was we were starting to see what was happening in grocery stores at the time. So these guys who were like mid 40s, early 50s at the time, they're like, I went to high school, I did some college, everything sucked. I worked at the grocery store. They're like, "Do you want to be a full timer? You get benefits, you get 30, 35 bucks an hour." Like at that time, that was attractive to people to know where they were going to go every day, job security. These guys didn't work in the aisles. These guys were the ones receiving the orders in the back. They were the ones driving the skids off the trucks and bringing them out. They weren't doing the grunt work. I was doing the grunt work. And they were like leading, they were managing. And they were like, even at that time, they were saying these grocery stores are eliminating these lifer positions now, right? So it's like, even if I wanted to be a lifer, even if I wanted to make $35 an hour and have benefits at Loblaws, they're cutting that out. They don't want people like this anymore. They want to be able to hire and fire at will 24/7. Just bring the rogues in to do the work at night and then fire them if they don't operate. So they're like, good for you. So after that day, I was tortured every shift because they're like, what are you doing here, Mr. University? I'm in the newspaper. And I just be like, whatever, take a hike. Which aisle am I in tonight? Type of thing. Like, what? I'm here with you rogues. So I'm one of you right now. Where do you want me to go? Um, I tell you, bro, at that time, I was like, I don't know what life was going to do to me, but I was like, I'm certainly not going to stay here. This isn't my path, but it's part of my path. Um, some days I wonder, other days I'm like, no, I can do hard work. I can do hard work, exhausted. It's not a big deal. Just tell me what I need to do. Um, the last funny thing I'll say is, in the mornings, when the real managers would come in and look at us just with disdain, sometimes they'd say, and we generally did not like them. Like, I had guys, they would they would relish that hour because they would just talk shit to those managers. Like, they just rip them a new one from top to bottom every time they saw them. That's what they, I guess that was, they got their jollies off that. But the one manager would say, I need three guys to stay. We got three guys who called in sick, who wants to stay. And some guys were like, I'm not staying. And other guys were like, well, I'll stay, but I'm not wearing a uniform. They're like, well, you need to wear uniforms. Like, I'm not wearing a uniform. That's why I work nights. I hate you and I hate people. Do you want me to stay or not? Anyway, um, that, I don't know. Talking to you now, I think fondly of those times with those people, but some of them were psycho. Some of them were real psychos, and some of them were normal, good people that just, that was their job, that was their life, and they were like, don't do this if you don't have to. Anyway, so you never know. I think you just never know how things are going to play out. I hear you about having agency, having a plan, understanding the lanes and the roles. I really like what you said about at the end, where make change when things are good. That hurt me right here, because I was thinking about my work in re-engagement and the opportunities I had to leave re-engagement when things were good, but I felt like it wasn't time for me to go, which is, that's fine too, but then it hit the fan real bad. But there's nothing I can do. When I look back, there's nothing I could have done, but I did have a couple of good opportunities to go. But I am where I am today because I didn't go, and I do like where I am today at the moment. So that's good.
I like how this it dovetails into, a tricky conversation within education, because this idea of agency in education, you and I have pounded this topic just flat, I think. But what's nice about sort of like hammering it down is like it's now become kind of foundational in my thinking about education, is that when you are, if you are willing, if you if you want to have some say in what you're doing in education, it takes constant management. It really does. Because you still can be displaced and not by your choice. Like that's kind of, and this is, what happened to you, right? Like there's an element of the, when re-engagement folded, that wasn't by any choice you made. You made, you made uh, strategic and risk filled moves once that was presented to you. Like you did it. You made choices, good choices coming out of that, but it wasn't your choice to leave re-engagement. It was stripped. So for me, that's always a good reminder that even if you do feel a deep connection to the work that you're doing in education, there are other people making decisions about what that playing field looks like. The game board can be changed on you, right? Um, some positions, there's a higher likelihood than others. If I will say, if you decide that you want to be, let's say in your sort of world, you decide you want to teach religion, pretty stable. That's like a blue chip investment in your own sort of work. You will probably be able to keep teaching religion forever, forever. There are some people's perception of teaching religion, and in let's say the nearest reference I could make in public education is having to teach the civics and careers courses. That some people are like, don't put me there. Don't put me like they don't want to go there. I know of other people that are like, I'm good. I'll keep teaching this. I appreciate the stability. I'm good with that. Even those people, though, it could be changed because sometimes they need to give people those courses and they say, no, now you have to go back to teaching physics. So this idea of like being self-directed in your career and education, you have to be so tenacious and at the same time aware and open to other possibilities, because in order to stay aligned with what you want to do, it can be a four move lane change. In order to stay with what you want to do, it can be a geographical lane change. So it's not just within the school. You have to say, you know what, I'm going to transfer to that other school. And in order to make it there, it also means that you have to be constantly managing the relationships with the individuals that make those decisions. So that's what the conversation that I was having yesterday with Karen was just talking about. She was asking about what I was teaching, like what's my schedule, and she had some questions about it, which, you know, my understanding of my current schedule and the way that it's been given to me, it's there's an element to it that I've stopped asking. It's a wait and see ask. She was coming at it in a very technical, and she's saying, yeah, you should ask about that. And it just has to do the way that they sort of pair up the learning strategies and the monitoring periods. She goes, you may want to look into that. I'm like, okay, I might. We'll see. Because even if it's not, I do think my current schedule is legal. Like I think it's fine. But I also understand like there could be something about it that could be challenged. I just don't know if I want to because I kind of like my schedule. So if they've given me a gray zone schedule, sometimes that can be done because there's lots of reasons it can be done. Um, but there are schedules that people have been given that admin hopes the person just doesn't complain about. And for some people, that right away is a tripwire. But then there's sometimes people like me, I look at them like, I actually don't mind that. I like the way that's put together. That works for me in my life. And part of it too is I'm coming out of a program that was highly litigious and very bureaucratic, and um, I get to do different work, probably the same volume, just in different ways, which is kind of a refreshment. So, but to that end, I'll go back to being self-directed and actually telling people what you want is a little bit of an alien thing in education, and some people can take that as threatening, right? Oh, well, you and I have talked about this. I think we both have a new trajectory of trying to get in alignment with guidance. I'm happy with student success portfolio, but just this idea of getting sort of being able to use the experiences that I've had in different portfolios and with different demographics and different leadership, I have said directly to admin, I would be a valuable addition to the corporate knowledge, but also the current culture of the school. I've said those specific words. There's risk in doing that, right? To declare yourself as an ideal candidate outside of an interview process, right? Like, who does that? Well, I'm going to do that because that's about that's where I figure I can flex some control. So I like that.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Sure.
Gary's with us about 8 million years ago. Gary said, good morning.
Good morning, Gary.
I messaged Gary the other day. Actually, I needed to talk to him about. I wanted to get his opinion about something that I'm
Hmm.
not going to talk about here because I don't want to cause any problems with our millions of listeners. But
A ruckus, cause a
I
ruckus.
want to cause a ruckus. But I wanted to say, Gary, I want to do this with my online course. Can I do this? And Gary's a phone guy. Gary's a
Mm.
phone guy, so I know that when I talk to him on the phone, I'm gonna get good some good advice. Not sure if I'm gonna follow it all, but I'm definitely gonna get the letter of the law and the spirit of the law from Gary.
And you're not a phone guy, not necessarily.
I'm not a
Not,
phone guy.
not so
Not
much, yeah.
well,
Funny, we've said not a phone guy, but willing to do a video chat. Yeah, there's irony. It's good.
and yeah, and I can do phone, but it's not my go-to, right? It's not my go-to is not to dial the digits, the 10 digits, and to be like, yo, what's going on? No, that's not my default. But for certain people, I will do phone. Uh,
Hmm.
you used to be more of a phone guy before.
Well, that was when I was a commuter guy,
The
right?
True.
But
Yeah,
that
good
was
point.
also, I will say, that was also before you and I had really built a deep connection with Polo. We were kind of like, I wasn't entirely in on that, so I don't know. We could call. It feels like it's not quite as rich, really. I don't know.
Well, I remember Friday afternoons. I'd
Hmm.
I'd be here waiting for the whole family to get home, so we would go out for dinner because that's typically what we would do. And I remember my cell phone would ring and it's you. Be like, "What's good? What's going on?" And we just
Hmm.
chat for a little bit, and yeah. So that in that case, happy to talk on the phone. But some people are like, I'm gonna call you. I'm like, you can call. I'm not answering. I don't want to talk on the phone. Um, I don't want to do the phone. But I know Gary's a phone guy, which makes me laugh because. But then you see what that gives me the green light to. Um, that gives me the green light to bypass some of my process. So, for example, um, if I feel pretty confident. I call you on the phone. If you're free, you'll answer, and if you're not free, you won't. And you probably be like, "Why?
Hmm.
Roland's calling me. I better pick up, see what's going on."
Hmm.
So with normally what I would do is I would text somebody, "Yo, I wanna ask you some stuff. I'm gonna call you. When's a good time?" But with Gary, that's out. That doesn't exist. With Gary, it's I'm gonna text Gary, see if I can talk to him, or I'm just gonna dial the number. And when Gary answers, poor Gary. So I did do this. I've recently called Gary, and I didn't tell him I was gonna call him. I don't think. And Gary was at a food establishment getting his dinner, and I didn't give a shit because Gary's a phone guy. So I called Gary. Gary, what's going on? Oh, I'm at such and such getting dinner. That's great. And then I just started talking. It was like Green Light Gary. That's his new nickname, Green Light Gary, because Gary's a phone guy. Gary's not going to hesitate to dial those digits and call me. Now, I'm not
Hmm.
saying Gary's rude and he's just going to call me at any time of the day, any time of night. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying his default is the telephone. So then, okay, then that means that I can drop the phone on Gary. I can drop that hammer because that's how he rolls. This is just all in my head, right? My wife would be laughing right now, telling me, "What is wrong with you?" Da 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 da. But for other people, the default is a text. Um, and for other people, their default is a text. So I'm not going to call them unless it's an emergency and say, "Yo, I'm stuck on the side of the road. Are you free? Can you help me?" Whatever. But it is funny how I adapt to certain things. So you used to be a phone guy, those Friday afternoon phone calls. But now I know your commute is very short, and I know you got things going on, and like very short. Like I'll send you a polo, and I'm like, oh God, this is gonna take him like 3 days to listen to this message because the time he listens is usually in the car, and he's not in the car that often. So
5 minute commute if it's in the car. And then if I'm on my bike, probably what I'll need to do is I'll get a harness, like a harness for the phone, like just something to put on on my handlebars, because then I could drop something on the ride in. And I do crave to do that. I do. And a couple times I've done it, right? And I've tried to figure out how the hell, like, I put it in my pocket, right? Like, kind of, but it would be easier just for me to have something on the actual handlebars just to kind of lock that in. I'll look into that. I got a couple weeks to sort of figure that out. Because yeah, I have, it's kind of cool to be able to drop something in the morning, and your programming is changing slightly coming into September, and mine's changing a little bit more drastically. So to be able to sort of talk about season nine, season nine stuff, um, I know I'm going to have a lot as I try. I know for me, I'm really looking forward to the stuff that everything that I've done as part of the community classroom, that small space, the boosted communication, the creative programming. I wasn't doing it exactly like that the last time, which was almost a decade ago when I was doing regular learning strats and regular monitoring. So I'm looking forward to getting to know myself in that space. And I've said that before. I've said that before. Like, I haven't met myself in this space in a while. So I'm looking forward to figuring that out. And also keeping it tight. Like, one of my rules last year was keeping work at work, so that when I'm at home, I'm available. So coming into this next year, Maddie's in grade 12. So there's going to be demands of being available, right? Jake will have his own projects going on, some of them theater based, some of them life based, want to be available. Karen's work, busy as well. So I am, in many ways, I need to make sure that I continue to be a flexible joint at home. So using everything that I have learned in sort of like doing this job so far will be really critical for me to kind of like operate at that elite level. I mean, I really do think of myself like, even despite being, several years out from retirement, there's no stopping. There's only proving every day that I am the sum of my learning. And I'm kind of looking forward to trying to operate in that space. I am. I'm really looking forward to sort of operating that space. So back to the original polo thing and those phone calls. Um, the last time I was in this kind of mindset was in those early days when I was commuting up to Keswick, and I was trying to figure out, because those were COVID days too, right? So that's another important factor here to include in here, that how you and I were connecting and relating. I think the phone calls was a reactionary tool to ensure that I was building an authentic relationship with you, like in a friendship way. So if I was craving to call, it was like, I'm going to call. I'm going to call. This might be, yeah, who knows if I'm going to have this opportunity to call again. So I'm going to call. And then it became a pattern, right? Like you said, coming home on a Friday, just doing the check in. So maybe commuting check-ins in the morning.
Man, you talking about that reminded me of when I worked at St. John's during COVID,
Hmm.
and I would I'd talk to you on the way to school, and literally at the end of the conversation, I park the car, get the mask, and I'm like, I gotta go. That
Yep,
Man, when I think about some of the work I've done, I hated getting out of that car and putting that mask on.
I
And
imagine.
I so I think I think at the moment you could probably say that I'm not like an anti-vaxxer, anti-masker, but I was like, God, I hate this, and now I gotta go do this.
Hmm.
Um, and then the other thing that I was reminded of in a very vivid way as we were talking is looking back now at when the wheels started to fall off the re-engagement wagon. Like when I would tell you and some of my other close friends about some of the things that were happening, I all of you I think could see the beginning of the end of that position. Um, I don't want to get into details, but like I'd be like, "Hey, this is happening. People are questioning this, questioning that," and I remember you saying like, this is interesting. Like, how does the entity expect you to continue to function at an effective high level when they're basically taking, it's like when Iron Man's suit started to fall off. He's flying through the air and the computer's like, I can't process anymore. I don't have the juice to do it. Parts are falling off. He's trying not to die as he's coming down to hit the ground, but the suit's just coming apart because there was nothing to hold it together. The machine couldn't work anymore. The computer was not getting what it needed. Um, when I when I look back, based on our conversation today, when I look back, it's interesting to see how the wheels started to come off. We didn't know how it would end. Nobody could nobody could force nobody could really predict, but everybody was like, yeah, there's no way that this thing continues to go the way it did the first year. But getting to the end of my drive to work during COVID and kind of signing off with you, I was like, here we go. I guess I better go inside now. Guess I better grab my mask, go get ready for this day. Um, wild times. Wild times. Is there anything else you want to drop?
Um,
Foodapalooza is happening this week.
yep, yep. Foodapalooza is this Wednesday. Kind of cool. I don't know. Sounds like some of the Waterloo crew and some of the York Region crew will get to meet up. I don't know. I think there's a few people that sound like they're coming in. I am. I'm gonna drop something into the. I haven't even told you about this. I'm gonna drop something. Well, I hinted at it when I put down that Jesse Eitzler video about the three things. You know, doing something epic, doing something for habit, and doing something for love. So I'm gonna start shaping that a little bit for BC for men, and see if we can get some of the dudes on board with that. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna put a challenge into the group to see if people are down.
Oh, is it?
Um,
Okay. I'm not going to say anymore. Um,
no, go ahead. What I can tell you here, and I don't know if it's same or different, but group. What were we gonna say?
I was just going to say, along the same lines, I've been talking to you about possibly putting together some kind of BC for Men retreat
Hmm.
uh, experience. I really would like something like that to come to fruition, and I haven't even had a chance to talk to you about it and like explore it at all, but I am interested in something like that. Even if it I would I have no idea. I think it would be a good option for people, and it would be, we would need a commitment because
Hmm.
it's not something that I would bankroll myself. This would totally be
No,
a team
neither one of us. Neither one of us. I'd be happy to do the organizing parts, but yeah, my money doesn't get fronted on this. We ain't. There's no sponsorships here.
No, it's not like that. But yeah, so I'm thinking about that, and you and
Mm.
I thought we'd get to talk about it, but we haven't had an opportunity. Maybe that's worth a phone call. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. Or we drop back into here. I mean, we could do it as an episode for summer school. I don't care. We can plan out in the open. It doesn't matter to me.
I don't
Or we
care
can just, yeah, yeah.
that.
Um,
Anyway, so there's some upcoming stuff, and I like
yeah.
that. I like that. I like the Jesse Itzler stuff. I like those ideas. The three ideas. I like having something. I've always liked having something to look forward to.
You've said this.
I
This won't necessarily be what I'm going to drop in. Won't be something that people are going to look forward to.
I
It's
believe that.
something. I think it's something that if people get on, because I'm going to ask for an initial commitment. So it's to say yes and then figure it out how to do it afterwards, right? Because that's another big part. I don't know if that's Itzler. I mean, that is a part of his energy, but a lot of people, Gary Vee has said that. Mel Robbins has said that. Goggins has said that. is like stop waiting for the universe to give you, these creative sort of things. Just do it. Jump in, do it. And part of having this app on my phone that tells me that, you know, as of right now, I've used up 39% of the day. Like that's like right there at the bottom there. See 39. Oh, right there. 30 today over on that side there. 39% I've used up already. And what's kind of funny is I wake up because it's set from midnight to midnight. I wake up and 25% of the day is gone. Well, it's kind of fascinating, right? Like and I don't know if this is forever. I don't know if that app is forever, and I'm not going to pay for extra, right? But that's kind of in step with my Stoic calendar, right? Like that living to 100 is a direct result of my Stoic learning. It is what live like we mentioned this. I don't know if it's in the on ramp or in one of our. I don't know where the hell we said it, but this idea that living philosophically is a hell of a lot of work because it constantly puts into question presence. It constantly puts into question presence, right? Like, am I actually not here for this minute of life, my own life that just went by? Am I actually here, or am I sort of out of my head, out of my brain, not doing things? So, when I drop the thing into, and I'm probably going to try playing with that green screen thing again. So I'll have something behind me, and I'll do a chat in front of the group. Um, I like, trying to figure out that in front of that group, and then I'll double down. I'll figure out how to put it into the WhatsApp community, which feels like a manageable link up, right? Is something to give you a bit of a clue. Bomber and I have already done this.
I figured it was something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when I look at something that's longitudinal, it has a nice range to it, it has easy access points, but saying yes is only one of the big fiery epic things you have to do
Right.
because then you do have a commitment day. And that year when we did that, we did two events, right?
Hmm.
There was the double event, and I kind of like the idea. I kind of like the idea of doing both of them. It was quite epic, to do both of them in the same couple months, within 3 months of each other. But I also really enjoyed the process of preparation. There was something that just like that was awesome. Like it did a lot of good stuff for my brain, um, and it was tough. It was tough. So yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. So
Nice.
yeah, that'll be popping soon, and then book club too. I finished the book, so I think there's more than up there. There's some chapters that I was like, no, but then I sort of stopped. I'm like, why am I saying no? Which is growth for me, because in the past I would just said no and said F it, walked away from it, saying that's stupid. But I had to sort of work on it and say, Mr. Wilson, what's in this? What's in this for me right here? So yeah, book club too.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to nail that down once this school year starts.
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to nail down the day that we would meet, and then I got to figure out how to do my job again. Just because
Yeah.
we have a new IEP writer. Gary and I are
Yes.
going to be learning how to use that piece of
Software.
POS. I like that piece of software. But it's like, it's like, oh God, here we go. I have a process. I feel like the learning I did last year would be good for me to start up this year. But then it's like, nope, we're giving you new software to figure out. So I have no
Hmm.
idea how to use the software, which means I have to learn how to use it. And that was a lot of my learning last year is how do I work this software. That learning will continue. But at least now I have a I have a picture of what things look like. So it'll be nice to have the book club for men for at least an hour a week to I don't know, help me focus on something other than work. And I've not made the decision to, I've not, like you declared today, you're like, you want time at home. You want, you want to be able to leave work at work and then do home at home. And I hear you, because similar to you, there are things going on here that are new for the family. Everybody's doing something different. And it's like the common denominator is me being around to assist. And it's like, last year I could not leave work at work and be able to get it done. So we'll see what this year brings. We'll see how this plays out. We'll see what my attitudes, my thoughts are on all that. At least I understand a little bit about my job this year than I did last year, which is good. We'll see. We'll see. No declarations other than um, we did say we would do the book club in the fall.
Yep.
Fall doesn't start until September 22nd, so
That
I'm,
was intentional, right? Like I knew like sometime in the fall we
Mhm.
had to do something, right? Sometime in the fall. So
it,
um
it'll happen in the fall. It just won't happen.
well, it
Well, we'll
happens
see when it
according to our
happens.
schedule. Yeah,
Yeah.
according to what works, right? And in the end, if it's just you and me and a couple people chatting about the book, well, I've accepted, you've accepted. I think a few people have kind of accepted that these are going to be some good vitamins to sort of explore. The book moves in a little bit in a new direction, which is always a good way to keep from stagnating, right? We've had the perspective before from a female identifying perspective about what it means to be a good man. This one is going to be from a dude's perspective, someone who would very is elder to you and I and life experiences that are different than you and I. Um,
Do you remember the name of the author that joined us? The female identifying author. She was great. She was great.
mhm.
Um, I don't remember
No,
her
I don't even
name.
remember the name of the book. See, this is. I love that you're looking over there. So, like, you're looking at your bookshelf.
Yeah.
Yeah, was it How to Be a Good Man? No.
Why is it not? It's not front and center. That tells me something too. I mean, I enjoyed that experience, and I'm enjoying reading Wilson's book now. Um, yeah, I am. It's funny, bro. I don't know if you get this. I I'm reading these books, how to be a good dad, how to be a good husband, how to be a good man, right? And I really enjoy, I do feed off of the idea of becoming a better man. Um, I've been making lots of connections to my dad, because my dad, I once saw my dad as a very narrow man. But now that I read these things and I'm exposed to a lot of new information, I can see those different parts of what it meant to be a good man in my dad. And just, I guess, me narrowing in and focusing on one particular aspect of how he operated, as maybe that was the prime, that was like the his day-to-day operation based on his context and circumstance, then fed me that feedback of, oh, that's what it's like to be a man. But really, there's much more to it, and I just didn't have the opportunity to see those different aspects of my father in a in quantity, because it just,
Mhm.
the circumstances, they wasn't there. Like it, so when my father would do interesting things to me that were novel to me then, they they're not so novel now, because I'm like, my dad would have never done those things and said those things if there wasn't something in him that operated a certain way. I just didn't get to see that because of the circumstances we were under, and the modeling I got was based on, I would use the word survival. Like my father just
Mhm.
seemed to be in survival mode, 90% of the life that I lived with him. I didn't get to see um I didn't get to see cruise control. I didn't get to see leisure that much. But I saw enough that I was like, well, that couldn't have been a one-off. It just was masked by all the BS of life and having to survive. Um, and then another thing I wanted to drop on you was that was really cool. I still think it's fascinating that you had time with your father before he passed, because
Mm.
that that is like that's a I'm like, is that an anomaly? Right? Because for me, it was I was with my dad today. The next day, my dad was gone. So, and I know that happens all the time in life, but when I think about your circumstance, I'm like, holy cow, like you actually got to talk to your dad. Your dad had Facebook. Like it's these things are foreign to me.
Yeah.
When I saw the image, um, you and your sister at her wedding, there was a
Good
photo.
photo, eh? Good
That was a
photo. I
great
thought.
photo.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was. That's taken on a. Here's to get some cash for our iPhone Pro Max 13. So
So
that's
that
what took
was your
that.
phone, eh?
That was yeah. They took it with my phone. I thought it looked great.
That was a great picture. Um, there was something about that picture. I think it's because your sister made a comment about your father.
Yep.
Um, I was like, it again, it was like, I don't know your sister's relationship with your dad, but I was like, I can't believe Chris actually had time with his father before he passed.
Mm.
This is very weird to me. You should see now when I talk to guys our age who still have dads, I'm like, you do? And they're looking at me
No.
like I'm crazy. I'm like, no, you guys are nuts. What do you mean your dad's still around?
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. That's a. There's some energy on that, eh? Because initially, as when you started to frame this, I'm like, well, death is a moment, right? And it's going to be a part of all of our relationships. The death is that moment. So I don't know if I fully understand what it is you're identifying, but it's what I'm getting from it is like I had time, I had reckoning time to sort of realize that there was a relationship that I wanted with my father that despite the fact it was cut off by his death, right? 70, 71 years old, despite him it being stopped, the relationship started like that sort of like that second half of life type of relationship that you could have with your elder father. It began, it ended, and that's what I'm taking from your reflection right now. That is that what you're talking about, that sort of that aware present kind of section,
It,
or is it just the fact that for you to be the age that you're at right now and still have your dad around?
for me, it's like, how do I explain? Like, you got the warning light on your dad's life, and you're like,
Okay, yeah. The engine light.
the engine
Check.
light came on, check engine, and you're like,
Yeah,
shit, we better check the engine. That whole experience is so foreign to me. I,
right.
I just in general, and then
Yep.
when I when I talk to people whose fathers are still around right now at this age, I'm like, this is weird. Like, you, this is weird that you can talk to your dad and you guys hang out and your dad comes over and helps you with things, or you go over there and help them with things. Like, it's just, so for me, it's like for me, it's, I got no, like many people, I'm not the only one, but I got no warning. It just
Mhm.
ended. Um, and I felt like that's when it ended is when my father and I were both, this is interesting. I've never thought of it this way. I've never said this. We were both committed to starting a new relationship with each other,
Yeah,
because up until that point, I felt like it was my dad was my dad. Like he was kind of supervising me, taking care of me, supervising me, taking care of me. But then I had gotten to the point where I had finished school. Like I had
yeah.
literally finished school. I'm like, I'm done. It's time for me. I got to go work now. And we were like, I had started a job, my first real job. And it was like, my dad and I were already talking about what does it look like for the family? Because I remember thinking, well, you can slow down in your survival mode, because I'm now entering the picture. And if we look at finances, there's a whole new income now. So like, my income means you can back off and maybe find more time for leisure and less time surviving, because now you can lean on my assistance. And I think with that, I don't think I know with that, there was a new, for me, there was a new, something new was starting. Um, it didn't last long.
Hmm.
And then I think of your relationship with your dad. And I'm like, oh my God, the engine light came on. And then you guys got to do maintenance or whatever you want to call it. Um, you figure things out. You have some vision of what might come, what is to come. And then there's other people where their 1978 Chevelle is still running. You know, no engine lights,
With
no.
the engine light, just
Well,
like
there is no engine light in those cars. It's just like
yes,
it just stops working, right? That's how old it
it's
is.
kaput.
But it's
It's just one warning light for
yeah,
all.
it
Yeah,
just the car starts every day, and it's a you know it's a beast of a car. They're not made like that anymore. Like, there's all kinds of ways of looking at it. So to me, it's fascinating. So when I saw that picture, um, and your sister mentioned your father, I was like, I still can't believe that you guys had an engine light come on and
yeah.
you could take a look and see what was up. It's friggin' fascinating to me. And I think the next iteration for me is, um, my kids.
Yes.
I'm hopefully they don't find themselves in the same situation that I found myself in. I mean, there's some control that I have over that, but there's also a lot of things I can't control about any of that. So we're creeping up on a couple of things. We're creeping up on, um, my kids getting to that level of life with me, and then seeing what comes with that. Um, but yeah, man, even as a middle-aged dude, I'm still fascinated that some people still have a father. And I got friends that are in the same boat as me. And even they are, I had more time with my dad than they had with theirs, which I'm also fascinated by. I'm like, that's friggin' crazy. Um, and then there's people that don't even know their dad. That's totally whack. And I think that is, as I grow older and I work with people, I'm like, that's not cool. That's not cool that you didn't have that type of experience. Because I think, parents, like having parents, that's a pretty common, universal experience, but not for everybody. Not for everybody. So, anyway, that was a cool picture. And it looked like you guys had a good time. You guys took some
Fan-
great photos.
Fantastic time. I like the engine light. I feel like this is something we'll explore further, um, because it doesn't mean necessarily something dire, but it does mean let's draw your attention to this. So what you're saying about, if the engine light metaphor just now means, well, it
Something's
could go
up.
into something's up, but I mean, you can go to a lot of different ways. So if we just take it on a relational level, what it means is fundamentally what it means is it's something is off. Like you don't get the engine light, but it can be an early warning, right? Change thinking, fix fix something in the actual engine. Um, Fluids are low. Like there's more than enough there, just as that the usefulness of being present and noticing, and to use the sort of like this iconography of check the engine light. I think it's fantastic that your response to that, just as an idea, is I'm gonna be mindful of the thing that I'm building with my kids. Like I think that is a wonderful takeaway from what that actual moment of oh shit, because you look down at the dash aka the metaphor for like your view of your life and everything that's important. And you see that's a clear indicator, and there's a reason like it's not green. Like you don't get a engine light green to tell you everything is okay, which is unfortunate. Right? It's like you just, as long as things are working, we operate under the assumption that everything is okay. And tech has done a great job of giving us wearables that give us the check engine light on repeat. But what is it about on the actual vehicle when it pops up? There's something different, right? Because if you choose to have a wearable, and I think you have one as well, there's a whole lot of data. There's a lot of data that you can be collecting that can be giving you check engine light all day long. And it doesn't mean a effing thing. You're just like, whatever, I'll get to it. So there is something still a little bit stunning about seeing that light pop up. And I think we need that. I think we need some of those moments that give us kind of like an early warning system. Like you said, like, check this out, pay attention to this. You are worth paying attention to this, right? Your life is worth paying attention to this. And man, you hit me in the feels talking about just having the time, because I don't think I really had a sense of it really when I was in the middle of it, when, sort of working in that latter part while my dad was alive and sort of going through chemo and he was going through dialysis. Like, he had a lot of shit going on. We just kind of normalized going for burgers, which again, like, I'm imagining that's something that you're craving too, just to be able to have gone for burgers. Facebook, sure, go for burgers, but to be able to exist in that time space, which you absolutely suddenly realized was finite, that's the kicker, eh? That sudden realization that you're in a finite amount of time. The 37% left of the day, but you actually do have that, like, you're in the last period of play with that relationship. Man, that's huge. That's huge. 40% left of the day. 40%. Sorry, 60. I've used up 40% of the day.
When I went to Ottawa to visit my mom,
Mhm.
I was very much aware this visit that I don't have many visits left, if any, right? Like, this could have been the last visit. I don't know. Um, I don't. My mom's fine. The engine light's not on, but again, you never know. And it was a great visit overall because there's family dynamic BS and whatnot, right? It was a
Yep.
great visit, but I did have a moment. I had a negative moment with my mom, and nothing's perfect, but I had a moment that it shook me. Like, I messaged my wife and I was like, oh, I need to talk. Um, this just happened, kind of lost it at my mom. And my wife was really good at helping me work through it. Like, what are you so bothered about? Like, break this down. And this was a good exercise. But my uh, displeasure with myself, basically the bottom line is it comes from a place of understanding and knowing that my time with my mom is very limited, a la Jesse Itzler when he talks about you don't have you don't have 20 more years with your mom. You have like 10 more visits, right? Like,
Yeah.
he breaks it down that way. You might have 10 more visits because you only go this often. So when you look at that, you don't have years. You have literally 10 more times possibly. And when you break it down that way, what are you doing to maybe increase that or really maximize that time that you still have? And I was very aware of that this time around. I think to the point where I think maybe I'm hyper aware and it's causing me some problems. So I need to work on that because it's not meant to cripple me. It's just meant I need to I need to stick with the philosophy, right? I need to stick with my faith because these are the things that help me daily move forward in a positive way, or at least that's the plan. And so I need to not be so hypersensitive that it causes problems. It's not meant to cause problems. It's just meant for me to be aware. Memento mori is not for me to walk around on eggshells all day, thinking, oh my
or to
God.
crush other people with, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, it's both.
It's that balance of, hey, if it's here, and do what you can with it, be present with it, and when it's gone, and it's gonna go. So,
But it is the presence, the power of presence that comes along when you recognize the finite. And that's a pretty stunning, both philosophical, existential gift. It really is. It is. And, you know, Itzler is a little bit on that kind of guru level, it seems to be, as far as definitely mentor level, as far as how to live his life. Um, of course, through privilege, of course, through success, of course, luck, stable family seems right. I saw his spouse interviewed, and she has basically said, in order for him to be this type of energy, I have to be more of a grounding energy. I have to be a little bit more thoughtful, a little bit more slow. She said, but his living his life the way he has made for a very interesting life, and that's all that's left at the end. The stories,
mhm.
all the events are gone. It's just the stories, and how the stories will flow. You and I have spent coming up on finishing 8 seasons sharing the stories. Can't go back to any of them, but sharing the stories of our sort of like young adulthood into our adulthood, and they just keep echoing and echoing, right? Like we're sort of building a mythos just of our own lives here. So if we take this idea of the number of times as actually finite experiences, I think that's a wonderful, right now, I think that's a wonderful way for me to live my life. And also how I justify saying I have to be flexible. I have to be the flex point here at home, and to be able to get my work done, create a finite amount of space so that I can come into this finite space and be as good as I can, to be able to invest as much as I can. So, because everyone else is going to be probably the nearest flexible person is Jake. Maddie won't be because she feels like she's got this big thing creeping up on her, kind of like a big life rite of passage, making it to secondary. Karen's kind of mindset as far as being able to manage the actual her job, like that's huge. It takes up a huge amount of the brain. I'm in a space where I have intentionally manufactured, or not manufactured, but I've curated how my career is going to be so that I can be flexible, present, and aware. So I have to sort of go elite level at that going into September. And part of it is recognizing the finite. If this moment never comes again, sorry, this moment will never come again. It absolutely will never come again. And it takes a lot of energy. I take a lot of naps when I actually activate in that space. I find I need naps. Now I need naps. But the fact of it is, I don't think I could have operated this way when I was younger. I don't think I think BC for Men has helped. I think conversation with you have helped. I think getting married and the responsibilities with that have helped. I think, my father's death have helped. I think separate, like there's so many pieces that have sort of put me in this opportune space to actually say what I just said to you. Because I wouldn't have sort of seen necessarily the value in that first half of life. Like I mentioned before, building the vessel, building the money, building all the build. Now, how do I actually use, and make sure that it's used well? So I like this. Almost Joe Rogan length. Almost
Maybe an hour and a half short, but hey,
hour and a half short. Yeah, we're not in the Huberman length. We're not in the who's the military dude that we've talked about?
Jocko.
Jocko. Yeah, we're not quite in that, but I think we've come to sort of have a healthy respect for those, for sure.
Um, well, it was, for our third episode this summer, and not bad. Nice to
Yep.
check in with you, Chris.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And Gary, thanks for your good morning comment, for checking us out.
Thanks, Gary. Oh, that I just gotta say, that fritter thing that you sent me.
Yeah.
Not a fan. I'm not a fan of the one with the whole apple slice in the center. That just strikes me as like it's delicious. They are tasty, but it's not because that's the St. Jacob one, right? Sorry, it's the St. Jacob style of one where they take it and they batter it and
Oh,
they give it to you hot in the container.
and
That
they're
one,
called apple fritters, but this video that I sent you, they weren't calling them apple fritters. They were just calling them fritters,
yeah.
which is not right.
Well, I'm okay on that flex point. I just, as I said, I know the ones that I prefer, and definitely dousing them in a sauce is not what I'm looking for. And I don't need them hot. I actually prefer them not hot. I prefer them at room temperature because I find like the center. Because when they're hot, it's really difficult to get a crust, like a good like crackle on the outside, right? So um, absolutely delicious. Would I say no to one? I would not. I would try one. Would I buy one? No, because I know me and my fritter fandom, my fritter fandom, my fanaticism. I know the one I'm looking for, and part of it having the one from Lady Glaze. I don't believe that Lady Glaze holds court with that one style of donut. I don't, but it has become the one that I'm looking for someone to be a little bit better than that. Like that has set like the criteria for me. The one some everyone out west was different. Ironically, I don't think I told you this. No, I don't think I told you this. My sister had donuts at her wedding, and like as instead of wedding cake, which I thought was brilliant. She had a bunch of different donuts, and as I'm sitting there looking at them, I'm like, I know that place, and it was one of the places that I had eaten out west. This place called Brecca, I think, and they did a good fritter. It was one of the closer ones to sort of like the Lady Glaze. Um, but it was funny. But I couldn't do it, and it was funny because you know who was eyeballing it with like hungry desire.
Whew.
Every other dude that was old and gray and looking like me. We walked up and we're like, okay, chocolate. All right. Oh, look at that one. There's a jelly filled. And then you see there was three of us standing at the table and we all just stopped. And I looked over. I'm like, you're looking at the fritter, aren't you? And they're like, we're looking at the fritter. And then all of us are like, I don't think we need to hold one. And I'm like, you want to split one? And they're like, okay. So one of the guys put it out on a plate and cut it into three pieces. I'm like, thanks, brother. We did the cheers and we walked away with a piece each. It was awesome.
That
I
is
just like
cool.
that. I like that I was at the point that over the course of 10 days, I became a specialist. I recognized the work. I'm like, I think I know that fritter.
That's good. And then the other day when I had the fritter in Grand Bend, I was excited, and then was disappointed that they had they so it was a blueberry fritter, and they didn't have
Mm,
chunks of blueberry. They had a blueberry filling, and I was like, No.
yeah,
Then it's not a fritter to me. Then it's just a jelly filled donut, really.
yeah,
So it was tasty. Don't get me wrong, but I was hoping that it would have some crunch on the outside, that there would be fruit in it, around it, but not a jelly in the middle.
yeah,
Anyway, I know I prefer my fritters without jelly in the middle. Um, with just whatever fruit it is that, I think a peach fritter would have been really tasty at that time.
mhm.
No luck though. Anyway,
Now I'm craving. I'm craving one of those fritters. Oh, could you at some point two things? Are you done with the pictures, or do you still need to keep the pictures? That stack of drawings from the pod. If you're done with them, bring them Wednesday. If you still need them, keep them. That's the first thing. Second, because there's some things I might actually frame a couple of them because
okay.
then we're gonna put some art up in the house. Second, um, are you able to go back through the book club for men and see the invites for the books? Are you able to see it on your end? Because you set up most of the actual meets.
What do you mean the
Like
invites,
the
like
list,
the
like the
emails?
list. Well, basically the list of books. Are you
Oh,
able to see that on your end? No rush on it, but could you put that list together?
oh shit. Well,
Because I'm
yes,
imagining the only space would be going back through the emails, right?
yes. Or going through my books.
You could do that
I
too.
just don't
Whatever.
know the
Yeah.
order.
Well, I think once I see them, I mean I can help remember it. But I don't remember. I mean, I know like a handful, but I just have a sudden curiosity to sort of like account for some of the things that like I'm getting a little nostalgic, but I there was something in me like, oh man, like I would like to.
You know what's crazy about that?
Or
So, we did a Ryan Holiday book.
yes,
I think I did that digitally, and I have no memory of it.
well, that's the obstacle is the way we did that one.
Why didn't I buy that
You
one?
you were not. That was one that I was running a few times. You had something going on.
Okay.
So yeah, you weren't you that was that one in particular. You weren't able to make a few of the meetings. I don't remember why. Maybe it was hockey. No, it wouldn't have been hockey because you would have set up something was going on. So that was one that I hosted a few times. So
Yeah, I had digital. That's the one book I didn't buy, and
mhm.
I'm gonna have to buy it because
Oh, you like to keep them, eh? I've given all
yeah,
mine
I know,
away.
I know you're in a different phase. My phase, because but I'm not a reader, so my phase is like all these books here. My wife has read them all except for mine, right?
Right.
And that's fascinating to me. And my kids have read many of these books, but I have not. So, yeah, I keep them because for me they're markers along the way. Um, but yeah, I know you're really good at, hey, I'm done this. Who wants it? Kind of thing, which is great. I'm not there. Um, I think I've made a decision. Do you know how I told you the armor picture you drew that you said I could
Yep.
have?
Yep.
I told you that I'm gonna I'm gonna frame it and I'm gonna put it up in my office when I become a guidance counselor. I
Yep.
just decided I'm not doing that. I'm gonna frame it this year and put it in my room now because I don't I don't know what's gonna happen with my
Mm,
job and with my work. So it's time to get it in my space now. I'm not waiting.
I like that. I like that. So your room, like room
The
at
room where
home,
I
or
no, at
oh,
work.
perfect, perfect. But you basically want to start living with it. I think that's great. Start living
I
with it. Start
I
having
wanted
it
to
around you. Start, yeah,
yeah. I'm not waiting. I do good work now. You know?
I do.
I don't need to wait for a particular position or whatever. And who knows? I don't want to live like that waiting for something to come that might not. I just want to do my thing. Um, yeah. So I'm going to do that.
Good. I highly recommend that move. Well, part of it is just recognizing if it's useful, right? If it's useful to you, get it into your space. Start drawing energy from it. Start sort of like having it a part of your daily reflective practice. Fantastic idea. I think it's a fantastic idea. All right, call it. You good?
I think, well, I'm good. You good?
I'm good.
Okay. We'll shut it down then. Thanks to everybody for listening. Gary, thanks for your comment. This was season 8, episode 39, number 346, the Decoded Podcast. Until next time, peace.
Peace, man. Take care.